Dear friends, if you are in a relationship with an avoidant, you may have noticed something confusing. On the outside, they seem calm, independent, and emotionally distant. They act like nothing really affects them. But the truth is, avoidants have certain sensitivities, emotional patterns that influence how they react and engage with you. Understanding these sensitivities changes how you relate to them. Avoidants respond more strongly to certain interactions than they will ever admit. Small shifts in how you communicate, show attention or give space can have a significant effect on how they feel and behave around you. Here's the key. Avoidants don't change because you explain more, express more, or prove your worth. They respond when the interaction feels clear, respectful, and balanced. That's where their true emotional responsiveness lies. When you begin noticing how they respond to different cues, you naturally foster a stronger connection. You create situations where they feel safe and acknowledged, which encourages them to engage more. They become more aware of you, more present, and sometimes even more invested, without needing to push or demand anything. If you've ever felt ignored, uncertain, or emotionally drained in your relationship with an avoidant, understanding this perspective will help you see their behavior more clearly. Their distance isn't random, it's a response to how their emotional system perceives the interaction. By observing and adjusting your approach thoughtfully, you can strengthen the emotional bond while maintaining clarity for yourself. Avoidants may seem detached, but once you understand how their mind and nervous system operate, subtle changes can make your connection more meaningful. Let's explore exactly how this works in practice. The first key sensitivity of an avoidant is how deeply they respond to being truly noticed. On the surface, avoidants often seem independent, distant, or even indifferent, but internally, they are very aware of subtle emotional cues. They notice when you see them for who they really are, beyond surface-level interactions. Many people try to impress avoidants with compliments about their looks, achievements, or status, but these often fall flat. Avoidants are not looking for superficial validation. What they secretly crave, and what most people fail to provide, is authentic acknowledgement. When you notice the small, meaningful things about them, their thoughtfulness, their quiet consistency, the ways they navigate challenges, or how they handle situations calmly, it touches a part of them that rarely gets recognized. This kind of attention doesn't pressure them or demand a response. Instead, it makes them feel seen and understood in a way that feels safe. When you approach avoidance with genuine recognition, you are not trying to flatter or manipulate them. You are creating a subtle emotional resonance that they respond to instinctively. Avoidants are wired to protect themselves, so anything that feels like an obligation, demand, or emotional pressure triggers withdrawal. However, when your acknowledgement is calm, sincere, and specific, it bypasses these defenses. For example, if you notice the way they handle a difficult situation, the care they show in their work, or even the way they stay composed under stress, pointing it out in a gentle, matter-of-fact way can make a huge difference. They may not respond dramatically, and you might not get an immediate thank you, but internally, your recognition registers and begins to build emotional engagement. You need to understand that the power here is subtlety. It's about showing that you notice the effort behind the scenes, the qualities that others overlook, and the depth in their personality. Avoidants often assume that no one truly sees them, so when you do, it creates curiosity and emotional attachment without creating pressure. This is why ordinary compliments about appearance, surface-level traits, or achievements rarely work. Avoidants sense when a compliment carries expectation, judgment, or the need for reciprocation. When you strip all of that away and offer authentic acknowledgement, it feels entirely different to them, safe, grounding, and even desirable. Practically, this means paying attention to details that truly matter. Notice their patterns, their consistency, their moments of calm amidst chaos, and the subtle ways they contribute to the lives around them. Speak calmly and directly, without exaggeration or dramatization. Keep your statements low pressure, specific, and sincere. Avoid over-explaining or adding personal expectations to your acknowledgement. Your goal is simply to reflect what you genuinely see, allowing them to feel recognized without feeling cornered or judged. By doing this consistently, you build trust and emotional engagement. The avoidant begins to associate your presence with safety and understanding. Over time, this subtle attention encourages them to open up and lean in emotionally, not because they are manipulated or pressured, but because they feel genuinely seen. This is the foundational principle behind all deep connections with avoidance, seeing them authentically and respecting their emotional boundaries. When you apply this approach, you are not just complementing, you are creating a bridge to deeper attachment and connection. The moral takeaway for you is simple but powerful. Noticing avoidance authentically and without expectation encourages them to feel safe, respected, and curious about you. This is the kind of connection that fosters trust, emotional closeness, and subtle attachment. By understanding this, you can interact in a way that naturally encourages engagement, builds intimacy, and strengthens your bond, all without chasing or forcing affection. It's about creating safety, recognition, and calm acknowledgement, and that is what makes the avoidant begin to lean in emotionally, quietly, and consistently. The second sensitivity of an avoidant is their reactivity to emotional tone. Avoidants are naturally attuned to emotional energy, and when interactions feel chaotic, rushed, or intense, their instinct is to withdraw. They are not doing this to hurt you or to distance themselves emotionally. It is a protective response. You can notice it as subtle tension, quiet distancing, or even a brief pause in communication. They pick up on pressure, frustration, or heightened emotion, and it can make them feel unsafe, triggering avoidance. The important thing for you to understand is that how you communicate directly impacts their comfort level and willingness to engage. When you speak with calmness, clarity, and steadiness, you provide a safe emotional environment that encourages them to connect rather than pull away. Avoidants respond positively when your words are measured, free from demands, and delivered with emotional balance. They are more likely to open up when they perceive that the conversation is grounded, non-threatening, and respectful of their internal pace. This does not mean you suppress your feelings or fail to express yourself. It means you communicate in a way that allows them to hear and process your message without feeling pressured. For example, if you need to discuss an important issue, taking a calm, structured approach helps them feel safe rather than cornered. Avoidants notice tone, timing, and consistency. When your energy is even, your presence steady, and your words considerate, they are more inclined to stay engaged and to respond thoughtfully. The third subtle sensitivity of an avoidant is how much they value boundaries and personal space. Avoidants have a deep need for autonomy, and they respond strongly to people who honor that need. When you respect their personal space both physically and emotionally, it sends a signal that you understand their natural rhythm and won't crowd them. This doesn't mean you detach completely or become distant. It means you give them the freedom to be themselves without adding pressure. The more you demonstrate that you can engage without intruding, the more secure they feel around you, and the more they are willing to be present in your relationship. Many people misunderstand this and try to fill the gaps created by an avoidance distance with constant attention, questions, or demands for closeness. Avoidants perceive these behaviors as pressure, which activates their natural inclination to withdraw. You, however, can take a different approach. By observing their boundaries and giving them space when they need it, you create an environment where they feel safe. They notice that with you closeness is not forced, and their autonomy is respected. This safety allows them to engage more authentically, without fear of losing their independence. Respecting boundaries also includes emotional space. Avoidants need time to process feelings internally, and rushing them or insisting on immediate responses can cause them to pull back. When you communicate in a way that is patient, understanding, and non-demanding, they perceive it as a sign that you can handle their independence without feeling threatened. For instance, if they need time alone after a stressful day, giving them that space while remaining calm and available communicates that you respect their needs. Over time, this builds trust and encourages them to seek connection on their own terms. Physical boundaries are equally important. Avoidants may feel overwhelmed by constant proximity or touch. You can create comfort by allowing them to initiate closeness, rather than assuming it is always welcomed. This doesn't mean you remove affection entirely. It means you pay attention to their cues and honor their comfort zone. Your ability to give space while remaining attentive shows them that your care is steady and reliable, which strengthens their willingness to engage. The key lesson here is that avoidants respond positively to people who can balance presence and distance effectively. By respecting boundaries and not overwhelming them, you provide a stable environment where they feel seen, valued, and safe. This encourages them to participate more fully in the relationship and gradually deepen their emotional engagement. When you honor an avoidant's autonomy and personal space consistently, they begin to associate your presence with safety, understanding, and acceptance. They realize that connection with you doesn't require sacrificing independence, and that realization naturally leads them to be more present, attentive, and emotionally invested. Respecting boundaries, therefore, is not about stepping back, it is about creating a secure, calm, and predictable space that fosters genuine intimacy. The fourth sensitivity of an avoidant is their response to emotional intensity. Avoidants are naturally attuned to emotional energy, and they are highly sensitive to high-intensity emotions. When interactions feel exaggerated, chaotic, or dramatic, they tend to withdraw. This is not because they don't care or are indifferent, it's a natural mechanism that helps them feel safe and in control of their own emotional space. When you remain calm and measured, even during potentially tense moments, it allows them to stay engaged rather than retreat. Your balanced presence communicates that emotions can be expressed safely without overwhelming them. Avoidants notice subtle shifts in emotional tone. If you respond with extreme excitement, anger, or distress, their instinct is to protect themselves by creating distance. You can support connection by moderating your emotional expression in ways that feel authentic but composed. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending to be unaffected. It means presenting your emotions in a steady, measured manner so that they can process and respond without feeling pressure. By staying calm and balanced, you make it possible for the avoidant to gradually lower their defenses and participate more openly in the interaction. Your ability to maintain equilibrium during emotional moments has a profound effect on their willingness to engage. Avoidants tend to associate extreme reactions with potential threats or loss of control. When they see that you can experience emotion without spiraling or creating tension, it reinforces a sense of safety and predictability. They recognize that your emotional presence does not demand immediate reaction or constant reassurance, which allows them to feel secure and more willing to share their own thoughts and feelings over time. Balanced emotional expression also includes listening and responding without overreacting to their words or actions. Avoidants are attentive to how you process their behavior. When they see that you can stay calm, attentive, and present, they feel validated rather than scrutinized. This encourages them to gradually take emotional risks and open up, knowing that their feelings will be met with patience and understanding rather than drama. The key takeaway is that avoidants respond positively to people who maintain emotional balance, even during tension. By keeping your presence calm, consistent, and composed, you allow the avoidant to engage without fear of overwhelm. Over time, they learn to associate your company with safety, emotional stability, and understanding, which naturally deepens their connection and investment. When you offer this steady emotional presence consistently, you create an environment where they feel comfortable exploring intimacy at their own pace. Your calmness allows them to engage without anxiety, building trust and reinforcing a healthy pattern of connection. The result is a relationship dynamic where both presence and safety coexist, and avoidants are more willing to share and participate authentically. The fifth subtle area where an avoidant is particularly sensitive is in recognition without expectation. Avoidants respond strongly to acknowledgement that feels genuine and low pressure. They are highly attuned to motives, so when compliments or recognition feel like they come with strings attached or imply a demand for reciprocation, their instinct is to pull back. What they respond to most effectively is when you notice and appreciate the small, often overlooked aspects of who they are, without expecting anything in return. This recognition can be about subtle traits, unique qualities, or the way they handle situations, and it signals that you truly see them for who they are. When you acknowledge an avoidant in this way, they feel valued in a non-threatening way. It doesn't matter if it's a small compliment about their attention to detail, their calm problem-solving, or the way they manage stress. They notice when you genuinely observe and respect these qualities. The key is to communicate your recognition calmly and authentically, without implying that they now owe you attention, affection, or change. Avoidants respond to this clarity and freedom because it does not challenge their autonomy or create emotional pressure. Your acknowledgement becomes a safe bridge to emotional connection, rather than a trigger for withdrawal. Many people make the mistake of over-explaining praise or linking compliments to expectations. This can unintentionally make an avoidant defensive. You, however, can create a very different dynamic. When you highlight their efforts or strengths in a way that is matter-of-fact and calm, they experience validation without alarm. They feel seen without feeling constrained, and this encourages them to engage with you more naturally. Over time, this pattern of low-pressure recognition builds trust and emotional closeness. Avoidants also notice when your recognition is consistent and unbiased. If they see that you regularly acknowledge their qualities without overreacting, exaggerating, or expecting something in return, they begin to feel secure around you. They start associating your presence with understanding, safety, and appreciation. This allows them to participate emotionally without feeling coerced or observed too intensely. The lesson here is simple but profound. Avoidants respond best when recognition is authentic and free from obligation. By highlighting who they are and what they do well without expecting immediate response or return, you create a dynamic where they feel safe, appreciated, and understood. This naturally encourages them to be more present, attentive, and emotionally engaged. When you consistently practice this, avoidants learn to trust that being themselves around you is safe. Your calm, genuine acknowledgement opens the door for deeper connection, allowing closeness to grow naturally. This approach strengthens your relationship and makes it more resilient over time, without pressure. The sixth and final area where avoidants are particularly sensitive is their response to stability of presence. Avoidants are naturally alert to fluctuations in emotional energy and behavior. They notice inconsistency more than grand gestures or dramatic expressions of attention. When you show up reliably with calm and patient energy, they perceive safety and predictability. This consistent presence creates a foundation where they feel secure enough to engage emotionally. It is not about impressing them with effort or intensity, it's about showing up steadily and authentically day after day without creating pressure or expectation. Being consistently present communicates something that avoidants value deeply: reliability. They are often wary of emotional unpredictability or fluctuations that demand immediate engagement. Your steady presence demonstrates that you are available, grounded, and trustworthy without requiring them to overcommit or respond in a certain way. Avoidants notice when you are patient with their pace, when you allow them to come forward on their terms, and when your engagement is consistent even if it is calm and understated. This kind of presence signals that you are not emotionally volatile and that connection with you will not feel threatening or overwhelming. Avoidants also respond positively to non-reactive engagement. It is not about grand declarations or dramatic acts of attention. It is about your energy and reliability over time. For example, consistently checking in, offering thoughtful responses, or being emotionally available without over-explaining or pushing creates a subtle yet powerful sense of safety. Your presence becomes predictable, reassuring, and calming to their nervous system. This allows them to gradually lower their defenses and participate more fully in the relationship. Over time, avoidants associate your steady presence with emotional security. They start to trust that being themselves, sharing their feelings, or leaning into the connection will not result in judgment, pressure, or sudden withdrawal. Stability fosters engagement because it removes the fear of unpredictability, which is often the underlying reason avoidants pull back. Your consistent, patient presence allows them to experience closeness without feeling trapped or overwhelmed. The key takeaway is that avoidants notice and value calm, consistent presence more than dramatic or occasional gestures. By being reliably present, patient, and steady, you create an environment where they feel safe, understood, and more willing to engage emotionally. Your stable energy gradually strengthens the connection, encourages trust, and fosters authentic closeness over time. By practicing this consistently, you are building a relational pattern that avoidants naturally gravitate toward. They begin to recognize that connection with you is reliable, safe, and enriching. This stability not only deepens their emotional engagement, but also allows both of you to develop a balanced, secure dynamic in which intimacy can grow naturally and sustainably. By understanding these 6 sensitivities, you can naturally strengthen your connection with an avoidant. Each of these areas, whether it's their reaction to calm communication, respect for boundaries, comfort with balanced emotions, recognition without expectation, or stability of presence, offers insight into how they experience relationships. When you apply this awareness, you're not trying to change them or force engagement, you're simply creating an environment where they feel safe, valued, and understood. Avoidants respond predictably to calm, clear, and respectful engagement. Your steady energy, thoughtful words, and consistent presence communicate security and emotional safety in ways that resonate deeply with them. You'll notice that when you maintain this approach, they are more likely to open up, share, and lean into connection without pressure. It's about shaping the space, not controlling the outcome. Remember, avoidants aren't unfeeling or disinterested. they simply process emotions differently. They need predictability, low-pressure acknowledgement, and space to engage comfortably. By observing these patterns and thoughtfully adjusting your approach, you create a relational rhythm that supports trust, understanding, and deeper intimacy. You're not manipulating or changing them, you're engaging in a way that respects their psychological wiring while also protecting your own emotional balance. This insight can transform how you interact with avoidants. You'll start to see subtle shifts in their engagement and notice that they respond more readily when they feel safe, seen, and unpressured. Over time, this builds a more meaningful, sustainable connection for both of you. If this helped you understand avoidance better, comment your thoughts below and subscribe for more insights into attachment, relationships, and emotional psychology. Learning to navigate these dynamics thoughtfully will not only improve your connection with avoidance, but also enhance your awareness and emotional intelligence in all your relationships.